Hello and welcome to another episode. In today's episode, I am going to teach you 2D and 3D transforms. But before we get started, if you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And if you find this video useful, share it with someone else. Also, if you want to support my channel, I am going to leave my PayPal link in the description below. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to split this tutorial today into two parts. The first part will be explaining 2D transforms, and the second part will be for 3D transforms. So in order for us to check out the first part, which is 2D transforms, I need you to visit the same website we've been using so far, which is w3schools.com. You're going to go to the CSS section and scroll all the way down to where it says CSS 2D transform. And just so you know, we're starting here with advanced CSS. Okay, now once you're there, I also need you to have opened the same website we've been coding so far with. I already have it clean, and I also need you to open the same code we've been using so far. So transforms, you're able to transform and do a lot of things with CSS. Okay, especially when it comes to 2D and 3D effects. So CSS transforms allows you to move, rotate, scale, and skew elements. If you hover over this example right here, you see how this element is moving and it's rotating in 2D. So in this episode today, I am going to teach you the first part, which is 2D transform. For this, we're going to be using the property called transform. Now, this property has a couple of methods. So I am going to explain to you a couple of methods, and then you will have to study the rest by your own. Okay, so first method you're going to take a look at, it's translate. Then you have another one that it's called rotate. Then another one, scale X, scale Y, skew X, and skew Y. Then you have skew and then the matrix transform method. Okay, and as you can see, all of them has a parentheses in between. I'm going to explain that in a moment. So let's start with the first one. Okay, so the translate method. The translate method, it moves an element from its current position according to the parameters given from the x-axis and the y-axis. So I'm going to give you an example right now on how this works. Let's hit here where it says try it yourself. What I am going to do is simply copy paste all the HTML code that you see here. Since you already know how to do a division in a paragraph, this will be real quick to do here by just simply copying and pasting this code. Okay, so there we go. So we have an H1, a paragraph, and the division, which is the element that we are going to work with. Let's hit save. Going back to our web page, hit refresh. Boom, that's what we have right now. So first thing we're going to do is apply to this division a width, a height, a background color, and some border style. Then I am going to show you what the transform with the translate method does. Okay, so let's copy all this information here and let's paste it into the style. Now I am not going to paste this just yet, just so you can see first where the division is exactly located at. So let's hit save there. Now going back to our code, let's hit refresh. And boom, you see? So this is a division. And right now this division is located in this area right here. Like really next to the screen. Now here you have, of course, your background color, some style to the border, and a width and a height. So going back here, we are going to use the transform method to move that division from the edge all the way to here, as you can see on the example. So for that, we're going to use the translate method, okay? The transform property with the translate method. Now, here on this example, you see that it says MS transform and then transform. So this is the standard syntax we are going to be using. This one is used on Internet Explorer 9. So just keep in mind, if you are going to code a website for somebody that is using Internet Explorer 9, you might want to add this in there. But so far right now we're going to be using the standard syntax. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy the transform code here, and we're going to paste this into our CSS style sheet. Okay, so the transform property, then we have the translate method. Now inside of the translate method, as you can see, this is going to move 50 pixels, and then I'm going to leave this in 0. I'm not going to set this up for 100 pixels just yet, just so you can see. Okay, so I'm going to hit save. Remember, the first pixels you're giving is to the X. Okay, and then the second pixels you're giving will be to the Y. Okay, so we could say the first pixels we're giving is to move the object horizontally, and then the second one will move the object vertically. So let's take a look in what the 50 pixels will look like right now. Okay, going back to our code, let's hit refresh. Boom, you see now we're moving this horizontally. Now, if you go ahead and you give this 100 pixels, this is going to move the object vertically, move the element vertically. Okay, so let's copy this, and sorry, let's just save this, and now we're going to hit refresh, and boom, now you see how this element has been moved 100 pixels down. So that's exactly how you will use the translate method. Okay, now that we have seen this, let's go ahead and clear everything out, or in fact, you know what, let's just leave it as it is right now so we can see a couple of other examples here in a moment. Okay, so I'm going to close here the example from W3 schools. Let's take a look at the next method, which is called rotate. Okay, so the rotate method, it rotates an element clockwise or counterclockwise according to a given degree. Okay, so here we are using a degree. Now, let's take a look at the example given here in W3 school. You have a division here, right? Now, this division, we have added a second division. Actually, they have added a second division here. So you have division 1 and then division 2 with the ID of my div. So they rotate the second division with the ID of my div. They rotate that 20 degrees. So what I'm going to do is erase the translate property here. Okay, and actually, let's just delete transform also. Hit save, going back to our code, hit refresh, and boom, that moves back to where it was before. So now, let's use the transform property once again, and we're going to use the rotate method here. And here we want to move this. The example is moving this element 20 degrees. So let's do the same. Let's move it 20 degrees. Okay, let's just simply set this up for 20 degrees, hit save, going back to our code. Now this will be rotated 20 degrees. So let's hit refresh. Boom, you see now how this has been rotated 20 degrees? So very simple, that's what you do with the rotate method. Okay, let's move on. Next example that I have here for you will be to use the scale method, okay? So the scale method increases or it decreases the size of an element, okay? And this will be according to the parameters given for the width and height of the element. So if you hit here where it says try it yourself, we will see here the example in how you can scale 2 and 3. Of course, again, this is going to be based on width and height. So first is the width, and then it'll be the height for scale. And take a quick look in what will be used, what type of syntax will be used for Internet Explorer 9 again, okay? We will use the standard syntax here. Let's remove the rotate method. Let's hit save, going back to our code, refresh. Boom. So now it's going back to normal. Let's go ahead and transform this element now. We're going to scale it, okay? Scale, and 2 and 3, okay, so 2 and 3, that's fine. Let's use the same here, okay, so let's hit, we're going to use 2 and 3, let's hit save, going back to our code. Now we are going to see how this is going to be scaled up, okay, so let's hit refresh, and boom, now this is super huge. You cannot even see the paragraph and the H1 that we have added, okay? So that's what you do when you scale something up, just so you know. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go back here and just remove the scale. And let me show you the next one. Let's hit refresh here. Okay, going back to normal. Okay, the next method that you can use in here, it's a scale X. And this one, it's self-explanatory, but I am going to show you an example from scale X. And also I'm going to show you an example from scale Y, because we have two, scale X and scale Y. So in other words, scale X, it increases or decreases the width of an element, okay, from left to right. And then scale Y, what it does is that it increases or decreases the height of an element, okay? And you can simply go ahead and do this by using the same values we were using before, okay, under the parentheses. But I am going to go ahead and simply give you right now an example with scale X and then another example with scale Y. Okay, so let's do that. Scale, we're going to say scale X. Okay, so let's use a value of 2, and now I'm going to hit save. Going back to our web page, let's hit refresh. And boom, you see how now that has been stretched, okay, because it's stretching that horizontally. Okay, that's the width. Now we are going to we're going to scale this to the Y. Okay, so now let's change this. Instead of X, we will apply this to scale Y, and we're going to use the number 3 for this one. So let's hit save. Going back to our code, let's hit refresh, and boom, now we don't have it stretch in the X axis, but now we have it stretch in the Y axis. So that's what the scale X and Y method will do for you, just so you know. And then one final method that I have here will be the skew method, so that you guys know what the skew method is. So the skew method skews an element along the y-axis by the given angle, and this is a skew y, right? We also have skew x, which what it'll do, it's a skew an element along the x-axis, okay, by a given angle, of course. So here, let's go ahead and clear this out again. I'm going to hit save. Going back to our code, let's hit refresh. So now let me show you something here. I'm going to give you an example in how you can skew X or skew Y accordingly. And by the way, here the values will be in degrees. Okay, so let's hit here where it says try it yourself. Now, as you can see, that's the example, okay? But I'm simply going to show you the example into our code. And let's simply skew our element right now, X. And let's use 20 degrees, same as the example, okay? So 20 degrees. I'm going to hit save, going back to our code. Now this will be skew 20 degrees, okay? So let's refresh, and boom, see how this has been skewed? Now that's skew X. We can also do skew Y, okay? So let's do that, just so you can see both examples. And I also will leave it as 20 degrees. So let's hit save. Going back to our code, let's hit refresh. Boom, now that has been skew Y. Okay, so I hope this makes sense so far for you, but if you have questions, remember that you can always leave them in the comment section below, and I will make sure to reply as soon as I can. Okay, so moving on, let's just remove the skew method. Let's hit save. Going back to our code, hit refresh. Now we're going to do something which is going to simplify your life. This is like the shorthand code for all these methods, okay? And it's called the matrix method. Okay, so the matrix method combines all the 2D transform methods into one. So here's an example, okay? And before I show you this example, let me go ahead and tell you this. The parameters are the following. So the matrix, the first number that you see here will be scale X. Then the second one right here will be skew Y. Then the third one right here will be scale Y. The fourth one will be translate X. And the fifth one will be translate Y. So you can do a whole bunch of things to an element just by simply using the matrix the matrix method. Okay, so let's hit here where it says try it yourself. And as you can see, you have a whole bunch of things happening to this element. And we have actually a lot of divs here, but I'm only going to show you the example with the one that we have created already. So let's go ahead and let's use the matrix, and we're going to use all the same values here. So let's copy this and let's simply paste this here. So we are using the matrix, and then we are using all the 5 values that I just explained to you. Now, first one will be 1, the second one will be negative, because you can also do that. You can give negative values if you want. Then 0, 1, 0, 0. Okay, so let's hit save. Going back to our code, let's hit refresh. And boom, you see how now this has changed? Now, which methods have we used here? As you can see, and if we take a look here into the parameters that has been used, we're using a scale x of 1. That's the parameters given. Then we are using minus 0.3, and this is to skew y. Then we're given 0 to skew x, so nothing is happening on x. Then 1 to scale y. Then 0 to translate x, and then 0 again to translate y. So all these parameters that has been applied is giving you this result right there. Feel free to go ahead and actually play around with them and see what else can you do. But so far, I believe I've explained everything that has to do with 2D transform. So let's move on to the second part of this tutorial today. I'm going to simply close this out. Now we're going to click on CSS 3D transform. Okay, so 2D obviously has X and Y. 3D has 3 parts. It's X, Y, and Z, right? So you are also going to be using the transform property for this. And the methods that you will use will be the same methods that you have been using for the 2D transform. The only difference that you will see here is that now we are adding the letter Z, because we need one more in the axis in order for you to go ahead and actually transform something to 3D, right? We have 3 angles, in other words. So let's go ahead and let's take a look in here. If you see the 2D, this is a 2D rotate, right? It's just rotating in 2D. Now let me show you another example in 3D. If you hover over this example, you see how now this is rotating in 3D? Okay, because this one is using X, Y, and Z. This one is only using X and Y. Okay, so again, the property is the same, transform. And here I am simply going to give you the example with the rotate method. Okay, so here on this example, I want to show you how you can rotate something in X, Y, and Z, which is the difference from 2D and 3D. Okay, so in order to do this, let's go ahead and let's click here where it says try it yourself. Okay, so here we are going to be using the same division we have been using so far. Okay, and we're going to rotate the same division in the X, and we're going to rotate this in the angle, just so you can see the difference. Okay, the angle will be, let's use the same, 150 degrees. Okay, we will use that one. Let's hit save. Going back to our code, let's hit refresh. Boom. Now this has been rotated, as you can see, 150 degrees. Okay, now, second example that I want to show you is how you can rotate everything in Y. Doing that, we only have to change X for Y, hit save, and take a look at the difference. Let's go ahead and let's hit refresh. And boom. Now this has been rotated 150 degrees, okay, in the Y axis. And the last one here to rotate something will be in Z. Okay, so we just changed the Y for the Z. Now we're going to hit save, going back to our code, hit refresh. And there you go. See how this has been rotated? in 150 degrees in the z-axis. That's actually the main difference between a 2D rotation and a 3D rotation. It has one more axis, which is Z, in order to transform everything to 3D. So my homework for you is, now that I show you exactly all the methods and how you can use them, I need you to practice, okay? And you're going to practice with 3D transformations. You can definitely go ahead and use the same ones that I already show you in how to use by using a 2D, the 2D transformation just in X and Y. You can go ahead and actually set this up now for 3D with including the Z axis, okay? So that's your homework. If you go ahead and you want to read a little bit more about this, I encourage you to visit w3schools.com and go ahead and read a little bit more here and try out the exercises. Here you can test yourself with exercises, how this actually work. You have exercise 1, 2, and 3 right there so that you can go ahead and actually practice on your own. If you have questions about how you can use the transform property with 3D, then you are more than welcome to leave them in the comment section below, and I will make sure to reply as soon as I can. But that was it for part number 2. Part number 2 was very brief because everything that you needed to understand was explained to you already in part 1 in 2D transform. I already showed you all the methods. Okay. So we are done for today, everyone. I hope this video has been super useful. If it was useful and you know somebody else that might need my help, go ahead and share it with them. That way they can learn as well as you are. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. That really helps my channel. And if you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. That way you will get notified every time that I am uploading a video. Also remember that you can always ask Lixi. Bye everyone, and see you again in the next episode.